We have the rubber chickens, we have the rubber dinosaurs. Rubber dinosaurs are going to hurt more. Sorry. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. For those of you who are not at Hacking 101, we have pretty much the same panelists here, ready to do presentations and things of that nature. So let me go ahead and start introducing them, or I will let them introduce themselves. We are going to start with Dustin Smith. Dustin? Oh, that's me. I ran an IT company for 10 years and did a bunch of shit. All right, go ahead, Xavier.
Hey everyone, Xavier Ashe. I'm about 30 years or so hacking. Started
that wasn't aimed
late
at you, that was
80s,
aimed at the camera.
Got started and went the architecture route. So I basically have a lot of the blue team or security engineering background. So as we get into that aspect, that's what I'll bring to the table. Also, a privacy advocate. I've been doing a lot of talks this weekend with EFGA and love all the support. So I'm just glad that you guys are here and we have a great conversation.
Hey y'all, I'm David Formby. I got my PhD in cybersecurity focused on the power grid and manufacturing geared towards tech. After that, I got kind of burned out with academia, started my own company focused on commercializing some of that research. Now run that company, Fortified Logic, doing training for cybersecurity for power grid and manufacturing.
Hi everyone. I'm actually the non-techie person on the panel. My name is Rich Gatz. I'm a lawyer and vice president of Tech Media team for a large insurance company. I'm also a distinguished fellow of privacy from the International Association of Privacy Professionals. This is going to be a good time. I'm here to provide some type of objective legal analysis of what goes on. So I will tell you that anything that you hear or learn today, no one on the panel or at DragonCon is responsible for what you do with that information. You are your own person. There's a legal disclaimer. Don't do stupid things. And don't do anything that you shouldn't do that may or may not be illegal. Okay? That's your one and only warning.
In previous years, when we started drinking before the panel, began, we can always claim we were really wrong, but had no idea what we were saying. We can't use that excuse now. There is the argument for use abuse during Hacking 201. Oh, wow. No.
Whose fault was that?
Huh?
Whose fault was that?
We got too popular for our own.
Blame me, I get blamed for everything else.
Okay, got Mike.
So my name is Bill Budington. I am a senior staff technologist at the Electronic Frontier Foundation. And unlike many of the lawyers at EFF who say I may be a lawyer, but not your lawyer, I will say that I may not be a lawyer, but I am your lawyer.
I am not old.
Yes,
Mike.
It's just all. I was.
There you go.
I am not a lawyer. Very not a lawyer. My name is Jeremy Wagner. I have over 15 years worth of SOC and malware and threat hunting experience. I work currently in the media and entertainment vertical. That is all I can say. But I have worked in multiple verticals in the 15 years that I've been doing this.
I know they don't
All right. Okay. Okay. All right. So we do, I'm going to assume, nobody has actually confirmed or denied this, you do have some presentations to get a participate. Okay, we got stories.
I'd like to introduce myself to anyone who doesn't know who I am.
We carried you in on a fucking chair.
Somebody follow himself. What about that?
We can share. Oh, that's pterodactyl skin.
Me and Buddy are going to be friends for this one.
All right. Yeah. So I'm Johnny X, and I'm to blame for all of this. I do a lot of social engineering. This is the honest to God truth. This was some social engineering bullshit that I was doing back in the 90s, and I had no idea that Dragon Con would actually allow me to be in charge of anything. And here I am. So, yeah, social engineering. I've hacked my way into Dragon Con. I've hacked my way into large FM radio station. I'm currently back in school. I've worked for a triple major, computer science, data science, and astrophysics. I've worked for Google and the federal government and a bunch of other places, large and small.
What's your badge?
Allegedly.
Don't want to show you, George.
So I'm Stephen Krause. I ran the hands-on hacking lab. If you didn't get to go, we So my degree is actually in physics with a focus on neutronics, which is reactive physics. But I do cybersecurity as a living. I do application security engineering and penetration testing, both digital and physical. So that's me. Blue light. Blue light. Do not dive in the blue light.
That's all right.
You have a rope around.
And I will say at the end, if we have time, we can all explore something called Temple OS together. Does anybody know about that?
I told him to get it. He tried to get with only one. I said, you gotta have Temple. We need something.
I am also, I didn't get it working, but I did get Red Star OS. That might be coming next year.
Yeah, Red Star.
What?
What EDR solutions will actually protect?
It has no internet. What do you mean?
Yeah, what do you need an EDR solution for if you've got no internet? You can't plug a USB cable into it. You can't plug CD-ROM into it.
It is protected by God.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Thank you, God. If you don't know what Temple OS is, you're going to find out and have a religious experience. There are actual Bible quotes in the OS. That's how bad it is.
Games is protected by the devil.
Those are load-bearing Bible quotes, by the way.
They are. You don't have Bible quotes.
It's like
Firewalls like Jericho then?
Yes. And then, your wife turns into salt. It's really annoying.
All right, let's get started. Okay, Jeremy, you want to start? You have some war stories for us, apparently.
I've got stories and I've got a social experiment.
Okay.
For that, I would like 3 volunteers.
Oh, here's one.
We'll take hat, mask, and the one way in the back.
Which one way in the back?
All 3.
Okay. I need your mic. I need to interact.
They will need the mic, yes.
Okay.
I would like all 3 of you to come up.
Come on. Don't be scared. We won't shoot you with a chicken. Maybe we will.
Yeah.
Sure we will. There was no problem. Do we have more than one?
It's Rush now.
Hey, guys, come up here and turn the camera.
Yeah. Where you want them to stand?
I'd like them to stand over off to the side. Please stand over there.
Okay.
Off camera or on
Off
camera?
camera is fine.
Well, you're on camera now, so bad. So bad.
No, that's fine. That's fine. All right, now we can. So, of the 3 of you, who has incident response experience? Okay, so we're going to learn about the pick roll. Welcome. That is a trademark SANS thing, if anyone's watching. Pick roll is the concept of prepare, identify, contain, eradicate, recovery, and lessons learned.
I said picker.
Yeah. So the first lesson is you should volunteer.
Required reading, right? Did everybody do the required reading? This is 201.
This is on the show.
Exactly, right? It's on the
Right. No, this is fine.
Yeah.
So the concept is you have to prepare your network and the known nodes, and then you have to create something to have an identification so that your known knowns or your known unknowns by the use of like AML can be detected. I hope you two are listening.
All right.
There is.
Let's let them talk. No more chickens for right now. Go ahead.
So then the containment stage is where you actually have to contain the infection, right? The recovery is bringing back up your systems, ideally in a hardened state, patches with everything else, including ports. Eradication, also getting rid of malware, the recovery, and lessons learned is your AAR, your after action review, where you learn. First individual that's who volunteered to stand in the front of the line there. What's your name?
Alex.
Okay. Alex, if you had to pick up all of the chickens in the room right now, name 2 things that you would have to have. Don't look at me, and just off the top of your head. If you had to clean this room right now, what are 2 things you had to do?
Exclusively the chickens?
In this room, cleaning this room.
A vacuum
Okay.
and a trash can at least.
Okay. So now take a look around the room. What else do you see? I can tell all what I can see.
A bunch of chairs.
Correct. So notice that during the preparation stage, they only identified that they would need a vacuum and a trash can. Keep that in mind, please. So the containment stage, you come into the room. You are told that this is a room you have to clean up. And now you can hand it off to the next person. All right, now building off of what they had a vacuum and a trash can. Now the identification stage, what are all some other things you might need? Now then here.
Fire?
No.
Yeah.
We had that at the end of Hacking 101. Or wait, no, that was at the end of Bugs Are Gross.
Let's see, something other than a vacuum and a trash can that would be necessary for cleaning all the chickens out of the room.
Cleaning up the room. Now, as you identify the various actions that you have to do around the room to clean this room, you know that you now have to also pick up the chairs, right? You also know that you have to pick up all the AV equipment and all the stage, right? This is stuff you weren't prepared for, right? But these are things that you have to be prepared for. Now, in the containment stage, you have to now start cleaning these things up. And as you start going back and forth, you have to go and keep running back and forth to the supply closet in order to acquire new dollies, lifts, things of this nature, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a trap here, but I mean, presumably the trap is leaving the room unattended.
That's I just like logic. No, it's like philosophy. No, so you've identified, now you're starting the containment process. And now you have to eradicate the chickens. How are you going to eradicate the chickens?
Fire.
Acceptable use this time.
He never said he couldn't burn the fucking food with ground.
I did not.
That is a valid. I was going to bring that up if you didn't.
That's
So-
lessons learned.
So now that you both have done the PIC, the E, and now R, the R and the L, we're going to hand it off to the next individual.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. So, if you had to return, now that you know that this action that the 2 previous individuals took, the 3 of you, after cleaning this room, realize that you're wiped, both a little emotionally from all the chickens that you had to clean up and the fire, ideally, but also physically, because this is not easy work. I've seen, I've helped do this kind of work before. It's not easy. Here is the thing that you have to do. You have to recover yourself. You have to figure out a recovery. So, if you had to do do you know the concept of self-care?
Yes, I do.
Okay. After cleaning this room, what would be an appropriate Self-care that you might do.
Here.
I personally like to write books to recover after a very stressful day. I have severe anxiety getting through the day, so at the end of each day, that or coffee. Coffee, anybody?
Here.
So now we know that we're gonna get into the lessons learned.
Yes.
Obviously, the first lesson is don't volunteer for a social experiment. Especially not one that somebody's writing a paper on. Two, you have to look at what everyone has done between the three of you and realize that during the process, you did not have all of the things that you needed to properly clean this room. Right? You had to keep going back so that the next time that you have to go back through and clean up after the EFF track and all of their chickens, you will come prepared.
Cool.
So what am I getting at this? I use this model with a number of my friends and family who are on the spectrum. I use this with myself. I use this to do dishes and clean the kitchen and clean my office and clean the garage. You walk into the garage, it looks like heck. You go, not today. But if you start breaking things down through the preparation of knowing what you need, identifying and breaking things into small chunks, working on those small chunks as you can, ensuring that you put in proper recovery steps so that you don't burn yourself out, you can use that same incident response model to help break down complex projects, tasks within your own home, daunting cosplays. It's one walk in the room, and all sorts of other things that you look at something and might feel overwhelmed, but that incident response process can absolutely be used to hack yourself and hack the way that your brain looks at anxiety. And that's what I'm going to do. Stop at for right now. I'm going to hand it off to Bill.
Hi, I wasn't told that I had to prepare anything, but we're talking about anxiety. So, I mean, I felt a little anxious and felt about what to do, what to think. And as you're talking, I'm like, what should I talk about? I'm trying to break that piecemeal down and also trying to look out for chickens.
Can we start shooting chickens again?
Go ahead. And can we let our volunteers?
Chickens launch!
I'd like to thank the three volunteers.
Thank you. Thanks,
For Remy.
He's now been hit by 22.
I was also like to solicit responses from the audience about what you do to break down the problems that you face on a day-to-day basis. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but these last, I don't know, say 6 months, 8 months, have been a little bit more stressful than normal. And I would love to kind of break down what techniques you all use to methodologically figure out a problem, to break it down, to actually start to figure something out.
Excessive masturbation.
It's not midnight yet, Johnny. You got an hour and 37 minutes, bro. Let's
I think we need like a whole.
Think you can play that a little more?
Sure. So how long do I have to that determines who's second.
That's what I'm making.
Chickens
Wow,
launch!
failure senator.
The current Democratic regime steps strongly for the letter. Got it.
Oh, sorry, I'm trying
Why
to get
don't
it
we
in the
have a
back.
panel for chicken lunch?
Let's try that again.
We have a panel.
So, what was your response again?
Almost got.
Oh, chicken. All right, setting constraints, setting
Boundaries.
yeah, by which you might say, wait a minute, I'm delving too much into the problem. I need to take a step back. I find that really helpful for myself when I, for instance, am caught in a logic leap around a particular problem and need a new perspective on it. We are not machines. We are people. We come to problems with all of the complications and the emotions and the life experiences. Nice shot. That come with our lives, right? And so. So I'm telling this point. Sometimes to take a step back. To wait on a response, to do something else before working on that problem again, because we come at it from a new perspective at that point. A perspective that is perhaps renewed by the life experiences that we have had since the last time we considered a problem. And it kind of, doesn't pick up exactly where we left off. We somehow come at it with something new. And so I will work on a problem that is separate from avoiding chickens right now.
All right, so I want to kind of take this in a little bit different direction. Just because, like I said, I'm the non-techie person. One of the things I love about this panel is just hearing some really cool war stories, at least until midnight, and really cool stuff. Maybe we can talk about like the most interesting hacks, social engineering things that we experienced lately. So we had a claim that came in from my company where an individual at the company was basically sent a phishing email. But it wasn't to download malware, it was purely social engineering. It was purportedly from the CEO, asking this employee who had no ability to do this to send a $5 million wire transfer. And then somehow, thank you. Somehow, this individual, after multiple discussions, was able to effectuate the wire transfer. Yeah, people suck. But what was crazy is, I mean, no one said AI yet, so AI. But I know, that's what I was looking for because, whatever. But the threat actor actually deepfaked not only the CEO, the CFO, as well as this individual's boss on a Teams call, video and voice. Okay, to get this done. Now, the crazy sauce of this is they do that, and the individual sends the wire, and immediately is like, well, that was kind of weird. Maybe I should report this. So when I think of hacking, I think a lot of people. I mean, I'm 43, so like I think of like the Hacker movie and Matrix and all that kind of stuff. And I'm gonna keep talking, gosh darn it. No, I don't. Thank you. But I think like very much what these two gentlemen just said. Hacking is more of a mindset. right? And I think one of the best ways to protect yourself is to realize that people are trying to hack you every day, whether it's for your love, emotional connection, power dynamic, your job, Meta, Google, Apple, right? I'm just saying, like, when we think about hacking, right, at an advanced level, it is so much more than just, finding an open RDP port, accessing a network, and then getting information that you could leverage in any way, right? And so kind of keep that in the background. Lucky this is empty, by the way. Keep that in the background of your mind. So I'm curious, the rest of the panel, if you guys have any like really cool, interesting hacks that you can share.
So,
Mike.
So I work for a very large blue-colored auto parts retailer. You might see them. Nobody really visits them anymore.
AutoZone.
No. Ew, not Warren. Anyways, so to build up what he's saying, 95% of like the hack attacks are not like digital. Or if they are digital, it's way down the chain. We had someone sent out a sales form that had account info in it. That got intercepted by somebody and sent to someone else and sold. So the week later, someone modified the bank account routing info on that sales form, sent it back saying, oh, you ordered this stuff, you need to fulfill this. And it was a 7-figure number. And thankfully, so this one got really lucky because this happened during the holidays break when the banks were closed, and we were alerted that hey, someone might have just forwarded a form to payments to process a 7-figure claim that is not legit, and we were able to intercept that and stop it. But the discussion came up like, hey, well, how do we stop that? A lot of the discussion came around, well, why did he not call anyone and say, why am I sending 7 figures to anyone and not calling them and going, hey, by the way, who are you? And why am I sending you 7 figures across a wire transfer? Basically, if it's bigger than like 5 digits, which even that's a little big, you should probably be talking to someone and vetting that out. And to build up what he said, think about like you're walking around Walmart. How many people walk around Walmart and those AT&T sales guys are out there like all the time? Like, oh my God, they're there like all the time. They're trying to hack you. They're coming up like, hey, like, who's your cell phone provider? We got on some deals. Like they're trying to convince you to like buy something. And some people, like most of us will be like, no, I got like T-Mobile, I'm okay. Some people are just gonna go, oh yeah, I can buy AT&T right now. I could do that because they don't want to push back. They don't want to seem unfriendly. They forget that the human interaction raises certain expectations that make social engineering work. The idea that we want to be friendly. There's a human talking to me. I want to be friendly to them. That's why email phishing works. We don't view it as a bunch of text on a computer. We go, oh, that's Bob. Bob needs me to send a bunch of iTunes cards like right now. Like down the street, like worth $50,000. I know Bob, he's my friend. They don't go, what the hell am I doing with $50,000 worth of iTunes cards?
But I did get a text from Trent Reznor, and he needed
He really
he needed some gift cards for the next album.
He sent me a cool little gift too of like Trent Reznor playing the guitar like on the email. It was awesome.
Yeah, so I actually have it. So I see it probably handle personally or within my org like 5 figures worth of cyber. And so what we found is that 60+% of all breaches occur with phishing. That's ransomware, okay? That's like everything you can think of. And 90+% of all cyber incidents are directly attributable to human error. And so I'm gonna tell one more war story before I send out the rest of the panel. I had this claim come in and it was like a CPA firm. And they had a request for a wire transfer for $130,000. Not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but someone started writing to their comptroller bookkeeper, who was listed prominently on their website because they listed every single employee on their website. And someone messaged this person and said, "Hey, I'm the office president," and used the office president's name, but the email address was officepresident2017@gmail.com, right? And so they're going through this, and yeah, this is a little bit ago. But the funny part is Google or something somehow must have reported it, because halfway through the conversation, it switched to officepresident2018@gmail.com. Well, this bookkeeper comptroller goes to the office president, knocks on the door, and says, "Hey, do you really need this wire sent out that quickly?" And the office president goes, "Yeah, send it." So this dude, literally 2 weeks later, this is literal, woke up in the middle of the night and goes, "What effing wire?" Goes back, checks it out, and it was completely fraudulent. Right? So, again, thinking about hacking and all the permutations of it, it is so much broader than just like the technical side of it. And we've seen a lot of the large scale breaches. There's a threat actor by the name of Scattered Spider. You may have heard of them. They are very good, not at network access, social engineering. They're responsible for the MGM attack, where they literally called the IT helpline and somehow got high-level sysadmin creds as a result of that. Okay? So, hacking's more than just the technical.
Yes.
So, one of the interesting acts I wanted to share that I learned about by watching DEF CON on Twitch. And I mentioned that because, a lot of these really awesome hackathons that are going on. Make it a little bit of a mic. So, what's really great about a lot of these hackathons, like Home Hackers on Planet Earth, DEF CON, they stream online. Completely free, you can just go and watch all the main content. And there's some really great content. And if you've ever been to DEF CON, it's a really big place. You just go to one event, you're kind of dedicated to go to that event. You don't want to just switch to another one if you don't really like it. When you're at home. All right, channel 2. Anyway, I'm going to digress a little bit to talk about the point I found on from DEF CON. And it was hacking AI's the ability to basically, by sending a Google Meet and a Google Calendar invite,
Get the duck.
they were able to hack somebody's Google Home and turn off their power system. And so the hack went like this: is basically there is an assumption of where the commands are and where they're not. And so being able to look at the way that Google Calendar reviews its calendar invites, they figured out that it was the Gemini product would actually read the Google invite and follow instructions in that Google invite. So literally all they did was add this Google invite, and when he says, when somebody sends this text, respond in this way, and you can sit there and say, "Hey, go turn off the, go turn up the heat all the way, or turn off the, unlock your doors," or anything like that.
I love AI.
And so that was, it was the presentation is amazing, because I love watching this, because they don't just say, "Hey, here's all this awesome stuff I did." It's like, I tried this one thing and it didn't work. And this is why it didn't work. And look, here's how it didn't work. And now I tried this other thing. Well, that failed miserably. And I tried this other, and that is the way a lot of hackers do. We are just constantly, trying to figure out ways to do this, and we fail, 90% of the time. And finally getting to that one aha moment that allows you to resist DEF CON is that permutation of the hacker.
It's the scientific method. So like I said,
That's what I get. I got what I deserved.
it was well. So one of the things we talk about in because I went to school specifically doing research on reactors, the biggest thing that people forget about science is for every one success, there's thousands of failures that never get published. Never talk about the failures, and then someone else goes and also does that failure. But when we talk about the failures, suddenly people socialize that, and you're no longer just doing the failures. And you probably learned something very valid from the failure. Like, why didn't this work? Oh, there's a specific thing that it wasn't there.
Why don't we publish those?
Why don't we publish those? Because for the most part, most scientific papers do not want failure criteria. They don't care.
That helps.
It literally does. It really does.
Learn more from the failure.
Exactly. You have to remember, who runs those scientific publications? For-profit people that do not want to publish a bunch of people's failed studies.
Failures don't get grants.
Failures do not get grants.
You're better at both.
Unless you're better at bullshit, yeah. But hey, that's how we got cold Budington. I mean, nobody.
Where's the donation bucket for the pizza stuff?
Right there.
You were sitting next to it, Dustin. How much have you had to drink?
Oh, you was looking for that?
Nothing.
So let's talk about trust, right?
You was looking for it?
Where's trust rooted most of the time? When we're talking about the web, trust is rooted in the C agents that are stored on an operating system level or the browser level. If we're talking about apps that are on your phone, well, you kind of trust Google to have an initial signing search for an app that is delivered to you, and then it has to then be signed by that same certificate when you go and update the app. In a lot of ways, I kind of the ways in which trust is delivered is an interesting problem, right? You have, for instance, apps which have a very rigorous signing process, right? So you have, say, the secure drops of the world that are, going offline signing machine in order to make sure that the code that is ultimately delivered to a browser or someone who's using an app is something that has not been tampered with at the point of delivery. So, for instance, everyone remembers the Snowden revolutions and the SSL added and removed here, haha, with a smiley face, right? And so that is an instance where, hey, the online certificates for a site that is delivering content themselves have been compromised. So you can say, this is Bank of America, and trust that is Bank of America, but yet a foreign certificate can deliver content that is actually originating from some other source. So when we talk about offline signing processes, for instance, like we have WhatsApp, and WhatsApp has and this is relevant to the present day because WhatsApp has an online, like a web delivered messaging system.
I have a comment and request too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So for WhatsApp, you are dealing with a web application which is the code for which is dynamically delivered with just the assurance of an online signing certificate rather than, say, an offline signing process. And so I find that any any web application that is delivered dynamically via an SSL certificate. Sorry, a really large forehead is a very good target.
Okay.
It's just vulnerable to these type of attacks. It's like RDP on 3830, okay? So just.
Like seriously, you don't understand the adrenaline that we get. We just like we're on edge all night long.
I would like to change things up a little bit, and for those of you who were not in Hacking 201 in the old days, the way it used to work is we'd make a big show of moving $500, $600, $700 worth of booze into hacking 201 before the panel started.
We are.
Well, it happened in the past. I don't care. You know, we are allowed to talk about it. This is part of con lore and con history. And the way we used to do it was we moved all the booze in. We'd set it up here. It's mostly beer. We'd have some wine. We'd have some hard liquor. And the audience would ask questions. If you asked a good question, you got to come up and grab a good beer or get a shot or whatever you want. And we also had a 40-ouncer of the cheapest shit we could find for the bozo question of the evening. And I would like to go back, since we've got some swag I've been handed and told to give out, to that format for a little bit, where you and the audience get to come up and ask some questions, and you and the audience get to decide which of those questions are best by your applause. And I've got a copy of the Edward Snowden book here, not autographed apparently, but I hear it's pretty good. And I've also got 3 EFF DEFCON badges, badge kits to give out. That's what I would like to do. I know I'll put the microphone back there, I believe. My request is, I've been asked to count out the money here for the pizza stuff, so I'm going to need a couple of witnesses to come into the back of the room with me. So we count it out together, everything's fully transparent, and we announce the total, and we make sure we got enough to pay the pizza people. So does that sound cool?
Yeah.
All right, I will give you the mic, and meet me back there so we can count out whoever's interested.
Johnny, I also have badge ribbons for those that come up and ask questions. So if you ask a question, you can get a badge ribbon.
Okay, this is so strikingly similar to the bottom of a grade schooler's desk right now.
Well, I think that's what's under their desk. So I want to hype up these. I want to hype up these badges a little bit so you know what you're getting. So these EFF badges are designed and manufactured by local. One of our local hackers here in the Atlanta area helps run DC 770 up in Cartersville. And he designs these badges and puts them, makes them available for sale, and all the proceeds go to the EFF. So, and if you haven't been to DEF CON, the traditions, or I haven't heard of DEF CON before, the tradition at DEF CON is to have an annual badge. So these badges that you're going to get actually have a programmable chip on it that have all sorts of videos. And you can go online. There are great videos on telling you exactly what little toys to get the badge, and then how to hack the badge. And you go to any local meetup, you come to a DC4 event or any of our local events, and ask for help on hacking the badges, you're going to get it. So I just wanted to let you know what.
It worked really good. Oh. Hey, is he gonna miss again?
Oh, wait.
The sticker. We keep the going. Yeah. Okay. We also have the NFC tag badge next.
NFC tags. All right. So we have a mic up.
Yep.
How do you have this?
Hello. So one of the coolest things I've ever seen in one of these 201s is someone was talking about one of the most important thing in social engineering was just asking. So can I have one of those badges?
And people have hacked multi-global corporations by doing the exact same thing.
Elevated permissions required.
Really cool guy.
No, you have to do one like outboard help desk.
Are you a North Korean actor?
No.
I mean, if he says he's not, it's trustworthy.
He's a killjoy.
Yeah, you're standing at the mic and we're off on a prime target.
Absolutely.
Okay. So expect it.
Yeah, you assume the risk of a random chicken in the dome.
So again, we want to have fun tonight, but we also want to know what you guys want to hear. So come on up, just let us know.
Yeah, and quite honestly, if you do not want to be targeted by random chickens, just let us know, and everyone, I hope, will not target them. Absolutely. Maybe what we should do is when someone walks up, would you like to be targeted by random chicken?
What would you like to be?
I don't care.
Okay, all right. For the privacy-minded folks, we call that opt-in.
Speaking of privacy, so I missed the Google presentation the other day, and I've been trying to find out what's the best way to get your stuff off of the internet, stay off the internet. Now, I know that Delete Me and Incognito are kind of the big ones, but I was told at the presentation that there are two other ones that are actually better, and I'm just trying to find out what they are. Because obviously it's not a one and done. You have to subscribe to something because those services will constantly get your information and put it back out.
Yeah, so there's Consumer Reports investigation into the delete, the data broker opt out services, and the two that they found to be most effective were Formby and easy opt out. There are a number of others. Delete Me by buying I find I use and seems to be pretty effective as well. And if you want to go through the manual process of deleting your information from data brokers in general, then there is the Bad Bool, standing for Big Ass Data Broker Opt Out List, which is maintained by Consumer Reports employee Yael Grauer, and he maintains an updated list of like the how you would go about removing your data from those data brokers in a manual way. Keep in mind that you have to do so perennially. You have to do so repeatedly after a few months or so.
I've made it my Thanksgiving, when things get so crazy in the house and you kind of just escape for a little while. I go, that's my cleanup. I go and clean my online. I just, just annually find a thing that you do every year and just make it that this is the time I'm going to go grab that list, find the best resource this year on where I can go do it and just, make it happen, right? Yeah.
So the other thing I would say too is a lot of states, I don't know, where are you domiciled? Where do you live?
Oregon.
Okay. So a lot of states, chicken shop. Force attack.
Wrong way.
But I don't think Oregon got to any place, but a lot of states, and I assume nice. A lot of states will probably go to this in the future, have a right to delete. Right, but you have to do that on a company level. So, well, it's kind of state-based, but a lot of companies do business in all 50 states. So the CCPA, the California Something Privacy Act, you guys knocked over my drink. But the thing is, even though you're domiciled in a state that might not have the protections, the company may have a ability to delete your data, right? So I would say look at that, look at their privacy policy, see if you can do it. But then generally, you really can't take the rabbit out of the hat. Well, I guess you can. The thing is it's about data sanitation, privacy sanitation going forward. Know what you're doing on the internet, know what type of devices you have, what you're using with, right? Like I often turn the microphone off on my phone because I have a Samsung phone. Right, and just by using the Samsung phone and agreeing to their terms, they will monitor what you're doing, you're saying, right? So it's more about prevention, I think, right now. I don't think I personally, and I'd be interested if other panelists disagree. Thank you. That it's impossible to erase your presence on the internet. All right, because there are unscrupulous entities that will keep your data, no matter like what you do or say. So it's really just about like, what can I do? The way I look at it is, what can I do to protect my data going forward? And it's really just, what are you putting out there? What devices are you using? And how you manage them.
So the California Consumer Privacy Act, if you're a California resident, has the provision where you are allowed to request, and that request be honored for you to delete your information from a data broker So that's the CCPA. There's also the Illinois Biometric Biometric Privacy Act, BIPA, and Illinois' BIPA is very strong. With two of the qualities that we would like to see in state level and federal level data protection is one, the right to have a PRA, which is a private right of action, which means that you don't need to rely on the state attorney general in order to sue a company that abuses your privacy, that you can, as an individual, can sue that company instead. That sets a very strong precedent and makes it so that companies that do violate privacy are vulnerable to all sorts of lawsuits. Makes it very costly for them when they do violate their privacy. So it's not only a private right of action, but also non-preemptive. Well, it's the federal case, so that if you have a federal data privacy law, which Congress should absolutely fucking do because they haven't done anything.
It's before midnight, who swears?
Oh, really?
Yeah. But also, just real quick, so we did have one, we had the Americans for Privacy Act or whatever, basically died in committee. All right, so there was an actual proposal for a federal privacy framework. The problem is, constitutionally, there's enumerated powers. And we're close. But all right. But so constitutionally, there are certain powers that are delegated to the state. Okay, yes, there is a right to privacy. You have a right to privacy in the Constitution. Okay, but generally, the way the legislative framework is, we left it to the states. So all 50 states have laws, on the very least, about if your data is breached. Not all states have a comprehensive privacy framework. I think there's like 18 to 20 right now. All right, and I can't list them, I'm sorry. Okay, so what I would say is look into Oregon's laws, see what your rights are, because very much what Bill just said, the benefit to asking for your data to be deleted, like under the CCPA in California, they have 45 days to respond to you. And they have 90 days to delete your data. If they do not satisfy that, you now have a private cause of action to sue them. Okay? And it's a statutory fine, which means that even if you haven't been damaged, you're entitled to something as a result. All right?
And there's been other benefits that's been identified. We have, obviously these data brokers have security in the world, right? They never, have to lose their data. Well, so there was a data leak or breach about 6 months ago, within the last year or so. And it was obviously a data broker, dump where somebody had grabbed just a whole bunch of fairly public information, but obviously very trusted. But what's very unique about who everybody did the analysis on, they said, if you did some of those opt-out things, they actually removed your data from this database. So there was a data dump of all this personal data, but if you took the time to ask to get your data removed, it actually wasn't in this dump. So it was very kind of like, well, these data brokers.
Well, and it's really important too, because the fines for them not complying, just like the GDPR in Europe or in the UK and the new EU AI law, it's actually a percentage of their gross that they can be fined.
And it's only about 5% punitive.
Yeah, incredibly punitive, right? Like the new EU AI law is actually up to 7%. But just under the CCPA, if they do not comply with this, they will get absolutely hammered by the California insurance company.
And I'd like to add that note that the wordage was you have to manually go out and do this every year. A service that says we'll do it for free. You're the product. And that's the thing that gets you into these kinds of messes too. Is anything that says sign you up, you're the product.
And so in kind of preparation for the Hope Talk I gave this year, we sent out a number of California consumer privacy. As a resident of California, I sent out a number of California Consumer Privacy Act data requests, and I wasn't able to get any useful information back from them. Granted, I have driver blockers at my OS level and my router and my browser. So, for instance, I use Privacy Badger on my browser. I use an GMINet router, which has tracker blocking feature in the user interface that could turn on, and there are various things you could do, and I found that they didn't really have anything useful on me. So, unfortunately, it is left up to the individual to take those protective measures. It's not just a default for everyone, which it should be, but there are some things we can do to protect ourselves.
Thanks for the question.
So, to some degree, a follow-up on the last one. What precisely is the legal obligation for deleting a consumer's data? Because typically, it's very difficult to delete information from some types of databases. So I've seen companies take the approach of anonymizing data to some degree. So from a legal perspective, and maybe even from an ethical perspective, what is that obligation?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty extensive. The CCPA is basically the gold standard, I think, for US-based privacy frameworks. And so if you can, what they look at is they look at do you have personally identifiable information that can identify an individual? So if you aggregate information and you hash it and it's completely anonymous, it's a little bit different. But there's still issues like, what are you doing with the data? Are you selling it? Are you using it for something, right? Are you using it for a commercial purpose, right? So it's very difficult to think of a company that is going to benefit from anonymized data, because how did they get that data, right? If you're interacting with a company and you're sending them your personally identifiable information, which depends on the state, right? But for California, name, IP address, demographic information, social security number, things like that. If they can identify you as an individual, then that's potentially PII. So anonymizing data is okay, but the data needs to be anonymized before it gets to the company. Because if it's not, they're still getting that personally identifiable information, and then you still have a right to delete.
And to a similar point there, a lot of states, if not California, just require that you do your best effort, especially because data is rarely housed in one company's systems. If you bank with, random bank down the street, they probably use a phone system that has their own customer records that has an integration. So they store some stuff, and they have a CRM, and that CRM has and it just goes on down the line forever. So how does that work out in the end? I guess is what I'm going for. There's no real way to delete.
Right. No, that's a great question. So I use the EU GDPR kind of definitions, but it's the same for the CCPA. So there is a difference between a data owner or data controller and a data service provider. Okay. So when you think about this, trying to think of a large breach.
Sony?
No. Yeah. Okay. So CrowdStrike. You guys remember what? Right. It's not the same. Well, it's not the same, but it's going to be useful for this hypothetical. It's a little tipsy. Can't think of a better one. But generally, CrowdStrike is a service provider that interacts with a lot of different companies, right? So let's assume, for the sake of the argument, that CrowdStrike wasn't a system failure, it was actually a security failure. Okay. The entities that have the legal liability for your personal data is not CrowdStrike. It's the entities and companies that you work with, that you have a relationship with, that do. So, like, I'm a United customer. Okay, I don't know if they use CrowdStrike or not, but let's say they did, and it was a security failure. and my personally identifiable information was accessed and exfiltrated as a result of that. My legal claim would go against United and not CrowdStrike, right? So there's a difference between a data owner and a data processor. The requirements and obligations of a data processor are simply to notify the data owner that there's been a breach, right? So, and that's why we had a huge influx of data privacy class action litigation, where here's a better one. Just lost it. It was a large breach with a secured file shareholder. Move it. Thank you. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. This is the perfect example, right? So Move It was, if you guys don't know about Move It, so essentially they were a secured file sharing protocol used in the healthcare industry. Okay. Now they had a 0-day where the threat actor, which I believe was Lockbit, basically sat on their servers for like 2 years, exfiltrated terabytes and terabytes worth of data, right? Move It can't be sued by a customer of like Athena Health, right? Even though they use them, right? So there's no, we call it privity. I mean, there's some type of relationship in which there's an obligation to act in a certain way. So the companies that use Move It are now being sued as a result of the 0-day that Move It experienced. So I don't know if that answers the question.
It does not.
Perfect.
Also, you don't want to get into the whole bag of segregation.
Well, yeah, but they're not. That counts as a question. Wait. Did we get opt-in consent for him?
Well, I was about to ask the question. You smacked me right in the head.
So we're gonna just opt out.
Give me everyone not doing eye out. Optico. No, the question I was going to have is, with the new administration coming in, does that mean that all of the rainbow books are now going to be banned? And does that mean the NSA is no longer allowed to use rainbow tables?
I would say no, because of course we all know the rainbow is biblical. Thank you, Jesus. Predates those other people.
This is a non-fiction pen?
Hard hitting. It might be a chicken early business, but as some orange colored people like try to remove a bunch of information that like important to a lot of people's daily lives. What can we do to protect our information and protect what we publish and protect what
Move out of
is out on the internet?
No, I mean from a leak. Dinosaur one. Heavy. That might actually be a black eye. No, it's cool. 'Cause I can say with the Dragon Con I got a black eye. But like, how did you miss the forehead? Did you miss this? Like, come on, it's like shit gaming. But no, I mean, I think the best way to protect yourself from a privacy perspective or an ownership perspective of things is to save your stuff, right? Have a data backup, have things that you can protect and hold up. Because at the end of the day, even now, you need to be very practical about your considerations and not be any other thing, but you are a cis-appearing white man. Okay, this administration ain't coming after you. All right, so
I have a circumcision that says otherwise.
And I talked about this a little bit in Hacker 101 too, right? Like if you can protect your data legally by just keeping it at your house on something that's not connected to the internet, okay? And you're able to do that because the legal requirements for them to come in and take it are very, right? Now, on a broader sense, like how do you keep yourself safe during this administrative time? I don't have to know. I mean, no one's safe, right? So it's literally just going to be, we're going to have to figure this all out together and just protect each other.
Well, the levity of the joke aside, I was thinking more on all these government resources going away that they're pulling, like stuff from NIST
download,
Yeah, that is
store it.
So yeah, so there's some great movements out there trying to keep a copy of the internet, right? The Internet Archive is obviously one of the
Internet Archive's unique.
right? And we have to vote with our money on this stuff, right? Go and donate to the Internet Archive, right? EFF, all these companies that you hear, kind of pushing forward, $5 a month, it's great, right? But I also hear a trend. We've got a couple of privacies like, what do I do? How do I deal with all this information? It's like everybody's already got it, right? And we really got to be more mindful about, how we do computing and what we want to accept as, the type of, where do we put our data? And so, as we look at our options and things like social media, keeping up with our personal files, right, our photos or videos, and put files, we need to be able to have that technology where we can control it. And so, just making those decisions and helping our less technical friends out there, right, understand the implications of, this is why we install an NAS, right? This is why we set these things up, right? And so we need to be stewards of that privacy knowledge.
Well, and that's the big thing is and that's lowering the cognitive load for John Q. Public on a lot of these tools and techniques and methodologies for reducing online presence, managing and maintaining data, because it requires a non-trivial amount of skill. That's why you have Fakata security professionals and IT folks.
So to answer that, there's actually a very low, entry level, and you're gonna laugh at this. Raise your hand if you like Minecraft. Raise your hand if you know about the great Internet Archive and the great library archive of Minecraft. Yeah, there's an entire world where somebody built a library and using the boards and books in Minecraft, they are writing down banned books so that people who can play Minecraft can have access to these materials in a way that's digestible for people that of any age, because the ability to navigate around Minecraft is something that you can teach somebody as young as really in the water. Wizard. But yeah, something like that. Go download and get the world seed for that. I keep a lot of my data stored in a cloud provider. A lot of my
Which one?
That's a good one. I keep it stored in a cloud provider that is based not in the US. So anything that I have is encrypted into two different variations and then stored on a backup. But that's specifically so that anything that I write that may be seen as controversial to regimes or documenting history, it's something that is preserved, right? I wanted to be a history teacher, so downloading Wikipedia is something you can do.
And I was going to say though, and if you delete the key, now you already did your crypto threading.
Right.
So our publicly readable internet content available to Americans is becoming hosted by in the U.S. service providers, becoming a harder problem. The internet is made to run against, for instance, censorship in a number of interesting ways. You mentioned Minecraft. There's ways to hide data through, say, like foreign services. But also, I wanted to bring up one thing that was kind of a forum in one of the sessions today here about these interesting long-range technologies, LoRa. And what LoRa does is make information available within a range of within a range of a few kilometers, and then also piggyback that data to others, so it can be rerouted in a very interesting way, so that each mesh node is also a router that is able to relay the information even further, right? And so even if it's not a publicly available endpoint where, say, the government can bust down doors in order to get to the provider of that information, at least you can share it with your neighbors. At least you can get that information out there so that you can have some form of community resilience against some of those crackdowns. And for instance, if you are a queer community in the middle of Tennessee and want to share information that in a way that provides that information to all of them, then there's this awesome technology called, say, Reticulum, and Reticulum is a mesh based, or uses mesh as a transport layer, as well as a lot of other things, way to get that information to your neighbors, to your friends, even if it's not publicly available, publicly routed through the internet. So these are exciting new emerging technologies that are starting to become available.
If you want to go back to older, you can use
Getting use.
steganography. There you go. Not stegos, so like stegosaurus, it's steganography, not hiding data within images.
Right.
So,
Or audio files.
or audio, oh yeah, audio files is a fun one to do.
Well, it used to be a deprecated technique,
Yeah.
and now it's coming back into vogue again.
Right, and it absolutely is. I deal with malware a lot.
Hackers easy.
And
Steganography's always been great for data access.
there's an interesting side project talking about hiding information within data when it comes to the AI models. So if you know anything about how AI models are built, we don't really start from scratch, right? We have parent models that then create child models, and they have certain characteristics. And it's very interesting to see the how they tie together. There was a study done. Basically, they took a model and they basically said, "Hey, your favorite animal is an owl," and and that was part of the training set. But that when they created the child set, that they didn't want to have anything to do with owls or favorite animals or anything. They did not even mention owls in the training data set. They created the child AIs, got it going, and eventually, after a certain number of iterations, they started realizing, hey, the child AI thinks its favorite animal is owls. So the actual knowledge of going and hiding the data within AI models is such that they'll actually permeate to child models. So yes, steganography within AI models is going to be a lovely subject. Sorry, there's a tangent there. I'd love to hear your question.
I'm familiar with hack that I have because it's social engineering or because of some system vulnerabilities. But a favorite one that happened to a company called recently is they had a big video game company have a data leak. It happened because their laptop was stolen at a coffee shop. So I was wondering, like, do you have any instances regarding hackers that happened with because it's physical things like laptop stolen or something plugged in computer somewhere?
I've occasionally have found extra computers underneath the front office. That was one of my favorite techniques. I did pen testing a long time ago, physical pen testing, and it was always getting to the receptionist, or whatever that front desk. They have usually have an Ethernet port up there that you can get to without badging in. So just waiting until the stuff goes and goes and gets some coffee or whatever, slip underneath there, Raspberry Pi or whatever we had back in the days. And so, yeah, I had some of it.
So I have a perfect example of that. Well, not perfect, but is anyone else gonna hit my eye? So I'm bringing freaking like snowboarding doctrines. But so there was this company who got a cyber attack. They were worried about data breach. We were trying to figure out what was going on, and so they had very highly sophisticated backups. They on the cloud, immutable, all this fun stuff. They had tape backups in a separate location, very good. but everyone was so like nervous about stuff that the CEO, president, maybe even the CISO would on the weekends back up their data on a physical hard drive, and he left it in his car at his house. And it got broken into and stolen. And it wasn't encrypted. Did we work for the same employer? Or a password. Did we work for the same people? I don't know. So one of the biggest costs with cyberclaim, data mining, it was a 5 terabit drive. Yeah, that was my reaction. So again, not to be that guy, but if you run a business, get cyber insurance. Because we paid all the costs. But yeah, I mean, again, 90% of all breaches are a result of human error. And so I do think that as time goes on, we're going to go more analog, just because deepfakes and AI, everything, especially for social engineering, they're really crazy. Like I have some policyholders that if they have a wire amount of a specific amount, the individual requesting it has to go in the office to actually get the wire sent. Right? So.
I get another quick story, kind of on the flip side of that. All right, so there's an internet worm called NotPetya that was going around. It's very destructive.
Just a small worm.
Just a small worm that the most destructive ever. And one particular company called Maersk.
Small worms are okay.
Yeah. So Maersk is a shipping company, and they were hit very hard. And shipping stopped, all the way around, right? It was a very, very damaging attack. They had one domain controller that was offline, and it didn't get attacked. But this domain controller, I think, was in Africa, and so they had the guy actually flew down there
In Ghana.
and held it like this all the way back on the plane, right? Like, this is the entire company. Active Directory domain of this global shipping giant. One computer happened to be offline, so they were able to recover. But yeah, so many other companies didn't.
So that's really interesting that you brought that up, because from a cyber insurance perspective, it's a very interesting case study, because Maersk actually did not have a monoline, which means it specifically covers cyber insurance, but they had a property policy, or a CGL, commercial general liability policy, and they saw coverage under it. The problem is commercial general liability policies, as you can imagine from an insurance policy, are a little antiquated. So especially back then, it didn't really consider this type, we call it a peril. Okay. So earthquakes, windstorms, things like that. You were close. Okay. So, but it's very interesting from a cyber insurance perspective. So thank you for letting me get out on this for a moment. Because they actually sued all their insurers. So they suffered $1 billion+ in loss, and the insurers denied the claim. Now, it wasn't a cyber insurance policy; it was a commercial general liability policy. But they had very, very broad language that basically the court said, no, you know what, the insurance company is wrong. You actually do get coverage for it.
Was it with the act of war?
So no, it wasn't act of war, because that's typically exclusionary language. Yeah. Essentially what it was is, and I can't remember, but essentially the wording had not been changed for like 20+ years. All right, because so again, I'm gonna geek out, you guys. I'm so sorry. So there's two types of insurance policies. You have admitted and surplus. The thing about admitted is that means that you're actually verified by different states' departments of insurance. And so the EU and other places have similar things. And the benefit to that is that if that insurance company were to go bankrupt or whatever, you get some type of insurance. And the trade-off is that the insurance company has to demonstrate that they're fully capitalized. They have to send all the wordings and policy documents to the state DOI. And then they also have to let you know how much you're charging for things. And so because of that, it's very difficult to change insurance policies on that basis, and they don't do so. And it ended up in many insurance companies paying out a lot of money on something that arguably wasn't covered.
I have one more story to tell for like physical stuff. It's a bit of a tangent, but supply chain security is a huge thing that keeps people up at night in the power grid manufacturing space. Yep. And recently there was the incident with the Israeli secret forces, like basically setting up a completely fake company to make completely fake radios that they successfully convinced all the Hamas leadership to purchase. And they were able to implant explosives in and immediately like wipe out the entire leadership all at once with this like very sophisticated social engineering, everything else.
So on the supply chain, an employer that I had some contractual dealings with, hired me to do some IR on incident response on it. They had sent off an image to a gray and dark burgundy colored company that will flash your computers for you and directly send them out to employees. Except the image they sent had malware. It had a backdoor in it. So, you know, unfortunately, that quickly became, oh, hey, why are we getting these brand new boxes all of a sudden pinging when, you know, CrowdStrike and FireEye, you know, going off and saying, hey, what's going on here?
Let's get some audience questions, please.
Thank you.
Oh, this guy's open game. Hit him with all your chat.
I am open game. But no one's on audio with any board right now. So, have you seen? So people, this is going back to earlier with like privacy related stuff and PPK, GDPR, all that jazz. To what extent does tenuous residency connections work? Like if you like people talk about like try to prove residency in the EU to use those rights. How often have companies denied or been litigated against because someone like they deliver a CCPA takedown and it's like, well, you're not really a California resident. So does that happen?
CCPA requests are sometimes they request more information to prove you're a California resident, and sometimes they will just delete your information because it's so rare that someone will try to delete their information via a CCPA request that they're like, we don't want to go through the additional costs of creating a separate process by which non-California residents will request a CCPA deletion. So might as well just delete it anyway. It really depends. It depends on the company and CCPA compliance. And compliance in general is a very, very piecemeal process by which they every company is different, right?
Yeah, and what I would say is the way the law looks at it is where you're currently domiciled. So when you make that claim, when you make that thing, so if you have an address in California that you are on.
That could be your primary residence or something?
No, not at all. Like if you are a resident, whatever that definition is for the state, you're domiciled there, so you live there. So even if it's temporary, arguably, you could still make that same request. But much like Bill said, and I said earlier, the companies that are CCPA compliant, I find it very difficult to believe they would say, oh, you don't live here, we're not going to delete your data, right? And if they don't, then obviously, not to give that company any more of your data. But generally, they have a process that they're going to respond to. And as working until I actually drafted CCPA. I am running out, okay, lady? Zeroed in on me. She is a sniper. I don't think you guys understand me. Okay?
To note for GDPR, either you are a resident in the EU or an EU citizen. So for example, if you're an EU citizen in the US, GDPR still very much applies to you.
Absolutely. And I mean, even if you lived in California and then filed taxes there, arguably, if you can list a Californian address, before I just got bombarded by cops. Literally, was about to say that working for a company and setting up their CCPA processing guidelines, we never verified whether or not they were a California domicile. You are too close, sir. You're gonna have to go back and just So it's not that much of an issue.
So you've all shared, which is thank you a lot, of how right now the current situation, even in California, is that you have to reach out to every data broker individually. So what's great is that as of January 1st of next year, the state of California will have to set up a single deletion mechanism where once you put that request into that single mechanism, all legally acting data brokers in the state will have to remove your info, so you don't have to call each one individually. Now, if that was replicated in all 50 states, would that solve the data brokers, the state of data brokers in the US?
No, because it would be dependent upon what what type of companies you're going to, what type of hardware you're using. It really is not recursive. I don't think that makes sense, but it's a process. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I want to sound smart like you guys. But no, I mean it's something that and that goes to the sanitation of your data privacy, right? Like if you're gonna ask them how to delete stuff, and then download TikTok, and then you're doing that, or you're even going to commercially available websites for retailers, right? Like if you don't read their terms of use and things like that, a lot of times things will transfer over, right? It might even be just on the hardware of your phone. Like I love my Samsung phone, it's incredible, but there's definitely some tracking going on where I've had apps giving me advertisements for things that I never said, did, or whatever, but literally other people talked about in different apps, right? Yeah. So it is a going concern. And so even you get that one-stop shop, just like he said, every year on Thanksgiving morning, or maybe when you're like little turkey hungover, you do that. But no, I don't think having a federal regime for that is going to stop it. Data is much too valuable. And people will not stop using things for free when they're I think it was Bill that said that, you're the monetary source of this. So if you're getting stuff for free, whether it's, services, applications, whatnot, like in the data.
Right?
Except chickens.
I ended up all of them. I had a question about self-employed hackers and everything, and what if they compromise a bank? How do they address that to the bank and get paid to do that?
Bug bounties. Don't hack anything you don't own without having a bug bounty available.
Bug bounties are a great thing. Another thing to look up is the policy, any incident whereby a company has acted aggressive towards anyone that has reported vulnerabilities to them. That'd be a red flag off the bat. You might want to just reach out to the company itself, say, what's your policy on reporting vulnerabilities? Before actually being like, hey, I have a vulnerability I want to report to you. I work for EFF. We have a whole team of world-class lawyers, and we encourage you to reach out to us early and make sure that we can protect you if you're going to report a vulnerability to a company. But yeah, generally companies have gotten better at this, but there are still those that will try to sue seriously.
So we've actually had a lot of claims that have come in with security researchers saying, hey, we found this access or a deprecated server or something like that, right? So here's what I'm going to tell you. Legally, but I'm not your lawyer. Okay.
I am no lawyer. I'm not a lawyer.
Go talk to a lawyer about this. If anyone here was wanting to do something like this. There is a huge difference between going to a company and saying, hey, I have found some insecureness in your network. I'm willing to disclose it to you. Versus saying, hey, I found this, pay me money or else I'm not going to tell you about it.
Yeah.
Okay? The difference is offering up your services and extortion. Okay? And I've literally had security researchers say, oh, hey, yeah, you know what, I have a self-imposed bug bounty amount that I pay when I find this stuff. If you don't pay it, I'm just going to publicize everything on Twitter.
Also, if you're going to do this for a living and you're talking to a lawyer, remember the terms LLC and D&O insurance.
Oh, well, but I mean, I definitely have seen companies that get alerted to this and it's reported to us, and they will give a bug bounty, right? But it's, hey, we have do you have bug bounties available for any issues with your network? Okay, that I could leverage. Not, hey, I found this issue. If you don't pay me, I'm not going to tell you about it, right? Or in the worst case, then publicize whatever data that you were able to.
Feature, responsible disclosure.
Yeah, and there's platforms out there that can help negotiate or like be a middleman in that conversation, right? So my day job, they're on one of the platforms so that if you find something, right, they have a place for you to go. And there is, on those platforms, you have certain levels of, protection and communication and all of that's, audited. So if you can find that company on one of those platforms, then that is, down that responsible. So
Is that like HackerOne?
HackerOne is definitely one of them. Yep.
I like to pronounce it Hackerone.
That sounds like a pizza.
All right, next one.
All right, so does everyone know what BitChat is?
Yeah.
Okay,
Some of us don't.
it's a mesh Bluetooth chat program that Jack Dorsey wrote as an apology for selling Twitter. Do we trust it? Has anyone decompiled it?
No, I just know.
Any
I know
thoughts
of
on
it. So yeah, so it's basically a point-to-point Bluetooth only communication system. So think about local, communication. Very similar to the Meshtastic, concept of having low-powered radios and being able to have a communication mechanism that's more local. I don't know. I also like to talk to. I like talking to people. I want to use Bluetooth. Hey, I got it. There you go. My mesh. Right. No,
About the same range.
When you guys play with Bluetooth.
I was just wondering about Mac IDs and haven't gotten around to putting mine back on.
Thank you for the question.
Opt in for chickening. While I bumble through this question. So in business, recently, I've started to notice social engineering.
My version of not.
Where it's completely legal and totally like normal to socially engineer your way into bigger sales, or take for instance the example I thought of, an intern at the company I work for agreed to a 5-figure delivery of printer toner when he was on my help desk. And it was right. It was a truckload. We had to find an actual place for it upstairs to get it. But it was we were supposed to get enough for a couple, like 6 months. We got enough for 5 years. And the intern was instructed, hey, we got you set up on this website. This will be your introduction into finding out the business side of things. I was said intern. I signed off on, yes, please send several tens of thousands of dollars worth of toner. It was completely above board. We did not want it. I was not expressly told we didn't want that, but they brought it off when we signed the check for it.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff. I remember back in the day, it used to be the business yellow paper. Please read some of that.
White pages?
Yeah, the white pages. Yeah. They would basically sell these like really expensive like ads in these commercial yellow pages and white pages. And, yeah, I guess. So I think what you're talking about is where crossing the line between sales, right, and fraud. Right, where do you go?
Right.
And when does it become I'm hacking you versus I'm just trying to convince you? There's aspects of sales that that Venn diagram overlaps, and you've got some of those features we're creating the urgency, right? That's in fact, like, hey, I need this help right now. I need you to transfer this money over because I'm stuck in a foreign country, yada, 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 right? That's also a sales tactic, right? You know, it's like, hey, what can I do to get you into a car today? Right?
Take him on!
No, for next year.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Going blind over here. I think legally it comes down to consent, and also like, are you getting what like, is there misrepresentation? Okay.
And that's
So-
always the gray line, was like,
Right.
we got what we ordered. There was nothing, but it was always the opinion of my boss at the time that they knew what they were doing when I was put in charge of it as a college.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a difference between taking business advantage and entering into a contract, right? Like, you had the authority to do that, and then they did it, right? And so I think there's a big difference when, so we see this a lot with entities or threat actors will actually get fraudulent tax documents, and they will create a fraudulent business. Okay, and so we've had many claims where someone will be like a heavy equipment manufacturer. Okay, and they'll say, "Hey, we want an order of 10 bulldozers," and they do all this stuff. And in the business world, you don't pay up front for that, right? You get it delivered, you get invoiced, and then you pay.
COD.
Right, exactly. And so the 10 bulldozers get delivered, and then everyone goes radio silent, and then they're like, "Wait, this company doesn't exist." But they did all of their checks. They did everything that they needed to do. So if you have, in the legal world, we call it like a contract, we call it bargain for consideration. Okay? You get something for something. So if you're doing that and there's consent and there's not fraudulent misrepresentation, anybody have a parent everywhere?
Alright. Well, hey, I recently completed the DANS course for malware reverse engineering. I still gotta
Congratulations!
Still gotta do the test, so not fully completed, but we did the first part of it. Whoa! Got it. So I was wondering if you guys have any like tips, tricks, or horror stories or war stories about reverse engineering malware that you can talk about.
Mine actually is this your first say insert?
No, I got 3.
Okay, good.
I would have been 3!
Alright,
Where's the fun is there? Probability not on your side.
Hey, Johnny, you want to switch seats?
I would say the worst experience that I've had dealing with malware reverse engineering is when you get down to it. One, how simple some of the coding can be, and you get into this thought process of, well, it just can't be that easy. It just can't be that easy, right? If you want to go look at one Victorian at Black Hat, I believe, released this tool called Perp, and it uses the Zoom and Teams turn relay server as a C2 mechanism, right? It'd be very easy to integrate that into malware, but when you go and look at just how easy this thing is to set up, it shouldn't be that easy. So don't overlook the obvious. But at the same time, the amount of opportunity that
Not
Gatz
working out the way I
Spider,
thought.
your pandas, your bears are running right now. It's pretty good, and it can take you a while. And so if you have to take a break because you're getting frustrated, just make sure your notes are documented, pause, and then go back. And remember pattern analysis. You know, if it looks like V64, or it looks like XOR, It probably is, but they may have done it in one way or another to obfuscate it.
So,
Oh yeah.
what I found is that it's gotten a little bit harder to do Android reversing because, or at least Android dynamic analysis because of system search versus user search kind of shenanigans, and making sure that an app that you're trying to analyze is trusting the SSL certificate, the forged SSL certificate that you're providing it via like Burp Suite or MIT. That's one level of difficulty. Then that becomes harder when you are dealing with, say, for instance, iOS, where you need to have either kind of you're doing this via Brita or something, then you need to have a iOS device which is vulnerable to a certain class of vulnerabilities that will allow you to install checkra, for instance, or even harder in the physical like IoT devices where we need to inserting logic into a piece of firmware which is doing say for instance firmware checking and firmware assigning being extremely hard. At that point, you really take that much off. Basically, dealing with these level of difficulty. Something is making an SSL request from within your house, and you just don't know what it says, which sucks, right? It sucks that you're not able to see that. As just a citizen, not even like a reverse, right? So, these are all kind of levels of difficulty that you have to deal with when doing dynamic analysis in general. And there's a number of tools that are out there that make it a bit easier, but yeah, ultimately I think that there has to be some kind of attribution that is that allows us to have some level of introspection into our device.
Yeah, I guess just as a follow-up, are there any specific tools that you might recommend? Because I know how to use Ghidra to some degree, but I hate reading assembly code. I have to use ChatGPT because I hate assembly code. So yeah.
It hurts my brain. Yeah, I love that I know it, and every now and then I'll just get into this malware analysis, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's right. This is what I did in school. I like freshman year in college. You just maybe I'm not this is my favorite thing.
Yeah, and there's tips and tricks on how to use Ghidra to label, assign, rename things to things that make sense once you start analyzing it. But it's hard work. It's laborious, and it sucks. But there is a certain satisfaction when you kind of get to start to understand what's going on. Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, opt in as well. So I was curious, you guys can talk a little bit about monetarily we can support folks like the EFF and Internet Archive. I'm a software engineer, so I can also support potentially via pull requests and whatnot. Is there a software project that's close to home for any of you that you think if it had more resources in terms of software engineers would make the world a better place?
Oh man, so many.
I maintain APK, which is an APK downloader from various sources. It allows you to download APKs from Google Play, F-Droid clones, Google Play clones, Huawei App Gallery, and a number of others. Stuff pull requests, and it would be great because also I think that one of the main ways in which you can kind of figure out what an app is doing is to see where it changes from one version to the next, to see where those changes are on code base. And so if a library is added that does facial recognition, then that is a huge indication that this app is now doing facial recognition, for instance. We allow version specification as well in APP. That's a plug for getting PRs to my project.
So I've got a couple of different projects I think are really exciting right now. So we've talked about mobile phone security and privacy. So Graphene OS is a great place where they're trying to figure out how to make a private phone available. I've been running it. I'm very happy with it. If you are in a situation where you can obtain a Pixel hardware, installing Graphene, is really easy. And it is basically, it's very Android-esque, right? It is Android, but it's just a private version of Android. And it runs the Play Store in a bubble, the protected layer, right? In Sandbox, thank you, right word. And so it's a sandbox version of Google Play Store. So every time the Google Play Store wants to do something, you're like, right? You can actually block it. So that's one great project. Another one that I thought of when you did it is that, as we talk about, moving away from, SaaS and, company-owned, media is the Fediverse. I'm very excited about that prospect of being able to move social media to a place that we can actually still interact in the ways that we want to interact with technology, but do so in a way that's very community-driven. And it has a lot of great potential, but there's, all these different, sub-projects, like, but the TikTok clone is there. It just needs some love. And so some of those Fediverse projects, you probably can make a huge difference. Hey, look, me.
Thank you. It's gonna sound generic, but when you can help out to your boss community, absolutely. As,
I've heard it go by my agency.
Bill said, thank you, your face missing. As Bill said, using things like TIFF and looking at what's updated or what's changed, that also can help with, hey, do I need to find out if malware's using that, right? But if you want to start using those kinds of tools to look at what's changed in patches, and give you an idea of this changed in this OS, and that type of behavior be replicated in a different OS, do I need to go out and address it, right? Or if it's something that has to do with the library and how a library works, that library replicated across, if Windows patches something for a library that maybe is also one that is pulled in for certain versions of Linux, then you may need to go and look at, hey, let's work on getting this patched.
OFRAK, OFRAK is a great firmware reversing platform as well.
Alright, I'll ask a quick question. What's your favorite ransomware variant and what does it do differently?
Ransomware variant. It's. In general, it's what's I'm kind of jaded with most ransomware. I think some of them occasionally get it, but we're in like this it's very small right? They mostly do all the same things. You've got some they'll pick up a new technique, but it's not being very groundbreaking to me. It's like, to me that's that's the noise where I have to do but that's because I'm in bank, right? We got all the money.
No, my name.
Doors, they control like large compliance. That's like my personal favorite, just to demonstrate like it is possible to do ransomware for those kinds of embedded stuff.
Like stuck then.
Basically, yeah.
So-
What's going off in 7 minutes?
So, as an investigation, I did investigation into a few samples of the Android malware class for Hydra. It used Tor to reach out to its C2 servers, and it was posing as banking malware, not really ransomware, but I like it because it was one of those pieces of malware which was easy to kind of figure out, like, oh, okay, this incorporates some Tor libraries. I wonder what it's trying to access. And then had some code obfuscation and had some, onion addresses that it was going to. So you can kind of follow the lead. I like malware that is easy to follow the leads because it makes my job easier. But yeah, there's and Hydra is kind of one class of malware, or Hydra is kind of using Tor, the Tor network to reach out to the institution.
That's pretty cool. Thank you.
Oh, wow. What?
This is kind of a broad question, but I'd like to get your thoughts on kind of the current stage of the fight we're having strong encryption communication.
Are you up for being a target?
Yes, I am.
Cool. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like our right to have strong encryption in communications, especially cellular communications, is always under threat. I'd just love to get your thoughts, like, what is the current state of it? Are there any big emerging threats coming up, whether Congress or, yeah,
I think it's legal. I mean, it's basically, countries passing laws saying you can't, you've got to have a back door. I mean, I think for me, that is the biggest, threat. Those in Europe.
well, especially after the big hack, where the top officials in our government had their, like, Senator Warner was talking about. Yeah.
I think you're right. Like, basically mandating backdoor backdoor communication system, as we covered in a panel yesterday, is always ripe for exploitation. Not just by those that you intend, or by you, I mean, government intends to have access to those communications, but also by any threat actor that then exploits the vulnerabilities in those tapping systems. And the FBI director at the time when CALIA, Communication Commission for Law Enforcement Act, in 1994 was passed, FBI director said, "Oh, these threats that people are bringing up that it's going to be a security vulnerability. That's all. That's not really practical." And lo and behold, it actually happens, right? So any we counter this now for unencrypted systems, but also when backdoors are mandated for encrypted systems.
But do you think officials are going to get smarter about this after?
Some point. To know what a Facebook tag was.
Okay, you say
Hacker 201, old school term, you would be served with Ozo 40 ounce or over.
Well, that actually goes back to Newt Gingrich, because there used to be a congressional technological office, and Newt Gingrich trying to save costs. Yes, hit my butt, it's fine. So it's not my right eye. Basically said, we're going to try to save funds by firing these very underpaid technologists that literally their only job was to advise Congress about technology. And so we have a massive technology expertise that can accommodate.
Thank you.
Yes, Chris, go ahead. Senator Wagner.
Mike stands alone, or is anyone else?
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
So if you're not familiar or you didn't hear before, we're about to have a transition. Right now, we are recording. I know, I guess it's on. I mean, apparently. Lightning round. Lightning round. So we are recording, but in a couple of minutes, we're going to be hearing the recording. And apparently it's no hold bar.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, wait.
We're gonna end.
This was just a guy.
Closing remarks.
Video.
Electronic Frontiers feed, then that was big.
Yes. Talk about the survey. Talk about the survey.
So yes, go and check out and rate it. This is a great opportunity. You are here with people that help to do this craft. There's a huge party going outside, right? We're having our own. If you want to keep having panels like this, go in and rate the app. I need you to vote. We need you to, keep those panels alive.
Don't tell them about the chicken.
All right.
Okay, turn the mic off. Or the recording.